Well said. Paula, where's Paula? Paula, are you okay? Wait for the end. I'm going to have to lean over some people. Sorry, so this might leave a mark. Yeah.
Good morning. Who do you think would be the optimal running mate for Mitt Romney?
Oh, I think we have several opportunities. We have so many exciting opportunities. I guarantee you one thing, when you hear the name, you'll be disappointed. It just always happens. Every year, no matter what side of the aisle, you have exciting opportunities for a vice presidential candidate, and they always pick some clunker you've never heard of before. So I just think that Mitt Romney will pick some clunker we've never heard of before. But I would love to see, I think that Paul Ryan would be a great running mate, especially if, consider Scott Walker wins Wisconsin. Wisconsin really is in play for fall. We've seen a couple of surveys that show Obama and Romney tighter than this most recent survey. Consider if you could put Paul Ryan on the ticket, really give Wisconsinites something difficult to think about, maybe convert some of those independents over to vote for a Romney-Ryan ticket. If Romney wins Wisconsin, he wins the election. So suddenly, Ryan on the ticket looks pretty plausible. I have always loved Bobby Jindal. I know he gave one horrible speech after a presidential speech, one horrible performance, and he's been kicked to the curb. But the guy's brilliant. He's done wonderful things in his state as well. And that maybe could bring in a bit of a minority vote. Just in the sense that now, again, we have someone on the ticket that just isn't Anglo-Saxon white. So I'd love to see a Jindal selection. But we're probably going to get someone we've never heard of.
May I ask the follow-up on Paul Ryan?
Yes.
Do you think Democrats would love to see Ryan be the VP candidate, meaning that he would no longer be setting the agenda in the House with regard to budgetary matters and that sort of? In other words, isn't the Vice President's office sort of the hinterlands of politics?
Yeah, I think they'd like to see that. They'd also like to see it because they are convinced that he would be easy to beat up on and be easy to ruin. They really believe that this pushing Granny off the cliff mantra still works. And I think it's been shown now in several elections that it doesn't work. They tried that in Alberta, ridiculously tried that in Alberta Darling just a year ago in her recall election. She's a state senator, she has nothing to do with Medicare or Medicaid, and yet she was accused of being anti-old person, anti-Medicare, so I don't think that line of attack works. I don't think they'd be able to beat him up as much as they think they would.
Do you think that Ryan would better serve America in the House? Or
where he is.
Yeah,
where he is in the House.
A lot of people believe that, I believe. And let's go back to, let's try Tom in Grafton. I know Tom prepared his questions ahead of time, so why don't you give him, let's see, number 3, try number 1.
Let's switch to the senatorial race.
All right.
From highest to lowest, how would you rank the 4 Republican senatorial candidates' ability to defeat Tammy Baldwin?
Ability to defeat Baldwin. That is a great question. Ability to defeat Baldwin just in terms of money, popularity, name recognition. I think you have to put Tommy Thompson and Eric Hovde 1 and 2. They're going to have the most name recognition. And Hovde's obviously been running all the ads. He's built his name recognition up there. And then I would say Mark Newman and then Jeff Fitzgerald. Those aren't necessarily the way I'd vote for them. But I think just in terms of your question and name recognition, easiest to defeat Baldwin is probably in the end going to be Eric Hovde. Do you want to hear my opinion on how Hovde wins this thing, wins the nomination?
Yes.
You have Jeff Fitzgerald, who unfortunately, great guy, unfortunately isn't going to have the money to compete with the rest of them. You have Mark Newman, who unfortunately damaged himself far more than he knows when he took on Scott Walker and got involved in some nasty hijinks in doing so. I think he's damaged himself with voters and the grassroots who would be working for him in a campaign, far more than he knows. Tommy Thompson, there is this thought among so many that he's just like a beloved old uncle, but underline old. Time has passed. So the fact that he's leading in the polls, or is among the top 2 in the polls, says a lot about the fact that he has the most name recognition, and people generally have good feelings about him. I don't think they want to send him to Washington again. So who emerges from that? Eric Hovde. He's organized, he's been spending a lot of money, he can spend a lot of his own money on the campaign. He is saying all the right things. He's trying to be the Ron Johnson clone. I'm surprised with how much his message, even the messages in his ads, are resonating with the voters. I'm being asked now from people, well, who wins this race? Hovde or, then they'll give me a number 2. Who wins this race? Hovde or Thompson? Who wins this race? Hovde or Newman? But everybody I talk to seems to have Hovde in that equation. I think he ends up winning this nomination. A lot can happen between now in mid-August, obviously. But I think he's setting himself up well for a win.
Of those four, who's the best man for the job?
I have this emotional attachment to Jeff Fitzgerald. He's proven he'll walk through fire to do what he thinks is right. And I personally, if I cast a vote today, I would be casting it for him.
I think we can all look forward to some Tommy Thompson stump speeches coming up here.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
No, he's not.
Go Badgers!
Exactly. The master of the
When I was very young, I was reporting in Madison, and I covered a couple of Tommy Thompson victory parties. They were great. Because by the time he got around to declaring victory, it was often 9:30 at night, and he'd been at the party for a while. He had the highball in his hand. It always looked like an old-fashioned to me. It sort of had that burgundy, or that sort of auburn color to it, amber color.
and a cherry.
Yeah, yeah. But a couple of interviews I did with him were a little interesting.
But you would get up there and mumble and then, go Packers!
As long as you end with go Packers or go Badgers, you're fine.
Aaron, where's Aaron? Maybe this will be the last question of this segment. Aaron, grab your card and grab the microphone too.
How do you think Senator Van Wanggaard is going to do in the recall against him?
Oh, I hope he squeaks it out. That's the one race of the four that the Republican insiders are sort of concerned about, because the polls show a very tight race there. And sometimes he's a little ahead, sometimes he's a little behind. Very tight race in Racine. My hope, again, is that as people turn out for, if we can get big turnout for Walker and big turnout for Clayfish, it'll be big turnout for Van Wanggaard in that part of the state, and I hope that he holds on. But that, too, is going to be predicated on how many people turn out and how many people in that old district of his turn out and vote for Scott Walker. I think a big Walker turnout assures that we win those other four races. A very tight Walker race, I don't know, that could be the one Senate seat that the Democrats could actually get. I think the others are secure. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll take more questions from the live audience here on the second Jay Weber Town Hall.